Chag Sameach to everyone joining us online. Chag Sameach.
Oh, hello.
We'll get started with our service in just a few minutes. If you have not done already, I invite you to, on Facebook or on YouTube or on tiob.org, write in a note just saying good morning and Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach meaning that we are wishing one another a very happy holiday, a good day today on this holiday of Shavuot. And yeah, right. You mean online? Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right. You're always a happy holiday. It's happy holiday every time you're here. I love that. I love that.
That's, the second graders.
5.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I mean, I still remember. I remember I was watching an interview with a celebrity, Jeff Benedict, and they were asking all these questions for a mad lib, and he had to think about each and every question. Favorite color? Blue. What's the last place you traveled? Such and such. But then they asked him the distinction between them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm doing well. How are you? So you still floating from last night? Well, I as a participant, I mean, as a watcher, I am. But your work was in it. Oh, Cynthia. Yeah, from Italy. That's what I was saying, talking to Jerry. Hold on, hold on.
Hi. All right, let me. Oh, I need one for prayer book. Did everyone get the? Good morning. Did everyone get the new prayer book?
The festival book?
Festival books?
Yeah,
Okay. Everything I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten or second grade.
yes. I can share. I'm a good sharer.
Okay, thanks.
Mine, no.
Yeah, I'll just read this one over here.
Okay.
It's a different, oh gosh, yeah. How do you teach sharing a conversation for another? Just use this mic. Can everyone hear me okay if I use this? And those online, I hope that you can hear okay using this this microphone. I think there's a beautiful and quiet moment when you have the morning of a Chag, of a holiday. It's not like Shabbat where there is such a set routine or anything like that. It's just a moment right in the middle of the holiday, not the evening when you first started it or welcomed it in, and not the following evening where you're starting to think about what might be after that Chag, but a time where not on Shabbat when we planned it, but some other time during the week, we are meant to just stop and have a nice, quiet morning, to hear some music and to hear some of the words in our tradition, some of the words of the Torah set in front of us as quite literally meditations as we think about what it means to receive Torah, what it means to learn, and what it means to live with this Torah in our hearts. Now Mount Sinai was all in smoke, for God had come down upon it in fire. Torah, given amidst fire, is compared to fire. Just as fire lives forever, so do the words of Torah live forever. When one draws near to fire, one is burned by it, and one moves away from fire, one is chilled. On Shavuot, we warm ourselves by the light of Torah, our precious heritage. We have a story in the Hasidic tradition that talks about what it means to live with too much intensity and says that if we were to be in a place of too much intensity, it would be like standing in fire. But if we were to go too far to the other side, we would be in a place perhaps of ice or even water, where also we wouldn't be able to survive. Can't stay in water for too long. The tradition says, well, what is it then? Should we walk in the fire or through the ice and water? And Torah, too, is compared to a place of fire and water, as it's meant and told to us as a wellspring of water, and that the Torah was given black fire on white fire. And so the tradition, this story, says that when we are faced with fire on one side and ice or water on the other, that of course where we need to walk is right through the middle. In a place where we can be near both the fire and the water, where we can find comfort between the two. I'd like to think that for us, our book of Torah, and on this holiday of Shavuot, we might be able to both warm ourselves by that fire and quench our thirst for learning. Let's join together on page 154 of our prayer books.
Ma tohu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, ma tohu, ma tohu
as we awaken to the new day, we give thanks for being able to awaken with our physical beings. So often, prayer is simply the task of taking note of what we might overlook and offering thanks. So I invite us to join together on page 156 as we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chochma, v'baro vo nekabim nekabim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'yadua lifnei chisecha bodecha, she'im yifatech achad mehem, o yisatem achad mehem, yefshar lehitkayem, v'alim lefanecha, Baruch atah Adonai, rofei kol basar, mafli ha'asod. Page 158.
Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorati. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi Ata berata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata meshamra bekirbi. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi.
We have blessings each and every day of our lives, and so we count them this morning, page 160.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasech vivina lehavchin ben yom uven laila, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaber, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein laya'ef koach, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'enai utuma me'afapai, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tselem Elohim, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat horin, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigura, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara, who crowns Israel with splendor.
We continue with the invitation from the rabbis to offer 100 blessings each and every day. Knowing full well that it is difficult to offer 100 blessings in a day, they said perhaps we instead should hold on to the kavanah, the feeling and intention and impact of what 100 blessings might offer us in a day. And looking at our Bible, They saw that there are not 100 but 150 psalms and placed the last of these in our service. So we'll sing together Psalm 145 as well as Psalm 150 this morning. I'd like to invite us to join together on page 178 of our prayer books.
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yehallelu Selah.
Ashrei am shekacha lo, Ashrei am shadonai Elohav.
Tehillah leDavid, aromimcha Elohai hamelech, vevarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarchecha, avala shimcha leolam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai umhulal me'od, veligulato ein cheker.
Dor ledor yishabach ma'asecha, uguratecha yagidu.
Hadar kivod hodecha, vedivrei nifleotecha asicha.
Be'ezuz norotecha yomeru, ugdulatecha asaprena.
Zecher rab tuvcha yabiu, vetzidkatecha yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim g'dal chased.
Tov Adonai lakol, verachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Oh, it's not like that. It's a different book. Kivod malchutecha yomeru, uguratecha yedaberu.
Leodia livnei adam gevurotav, v'chvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador.
Sameach Adonai l'chol hanochlim, v'zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Einei chol elecha yesaberu, ve'ata noten lahem et ochlam be'ito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'maspia l'chol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai bechol deracha, ve'chasid bechol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol korav, l'chol asher yigra'u ve'emet.
Ritzon yira'av ya'aseh, ve'et shavatam yishma ve'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol ohavav, ve'et kol rasha'im yashmid.
Tehilat Adonai yedaber pi, vivarech kol basar shem kodsho leolam va'ed. Va'anachnu nevarech ya, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah.
We have in our tradition all different kinds of reminders. I think that one of the hardest things for any one of us is simply to remember. And I can imagine that a profound moment when technology moved forward and they discovered that they could write things down. We know that there is an oral tradition that surrounds that written one, of course, parchment being something that was not always readily available, but there were certain things that they could finally write down, and so they did. But still, it's hard to remember, and so I think that throughout our tradition we have all different kinds of ways of trying to help us remember. And if you look at the psalm that we just sang together, the 145th psalm, you'll notice that it starts, and it's actually bolded here to help us see in the prayer book, with Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, Hey. This is a mnemonic, essentially. A mnemonic that uses the alphabet to help us remember each and every line of this. And I think too, ritual is meant to be a mnemonic of sorts, a reminder for us to stop and celebrate, to read and learn, and simply to be together. We continue on page Psalm 150 on page 181.
Hallelujah, 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 El Bekocho, hallelujah, Bikirianuto, hallelujah, Bikurotav, hallelujah, Kerokuno. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
to share, and I guess I'm teaching a little bit after each blessing as well as before, that we have all kinds of scholarship for any number of different things that we have in our tradition. All kinds of ways that we have used archaeology or research through various texts to try and determine, okay, this is the memory, but what is the history of a moment? What are the factual things that we know took place? And when we roll through that history and when we look very carefully at the texts, we have blessings like Psalm 150 that we are fairly certain was offered at the temple as a part of temple sacrifice. And we have fairly good archaeological evidence and history to state that there was a first and second temple, that sacrifices were done there, and we are fairly certain, by the way, that they had instruments there too.
Yes.
But we don't know what the instruments were. And actually, if you look at different translations, at different Bible translations of Psalm 150, you'll see different words used for all of these different instruments. I'm trying to remember. So
Harp,
the blasts
lyre.
of the horn, shofar, we know what a shofar is, but harp and lyre, you're right. And timbrel and dance we know, but there's a lot of these words, lute and pipe.
Pipe.
We don't know what exactly they use.
Right.
And there's actually been a lot of research in trying to find out much more specifically, but more to the point, because we don't know what instruments were used, we have the space to understand these words in our own way. And I would like to suggest that just as these instruments were used so many years ago, that today it's on us to offer our own instruments to these words. That each and every one of us perhaps is a different instrument for these words that can take on the meaning of this blessing today. And maybe in another 1,000 years, there will be some other voices, some other blessing, some other instruments used as well. Well, let's continue with the words of Baruch Hu, calling to one another this morning. I'd like to invite us to turn to page 188 and to rise in body or in spirit.
Yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Well, as light is renewed to us each and every day, we give thanks. Page 190. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei choshech, osei shalom uvarei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh b'reshit. Marabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mala ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, va'al me'orei or she'asita, yifa'arucha selah, or chadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nizkei kulanu mehira le'oro, baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. Continue on the following page, page 192.
Ahava Rabbah Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem עמלת עלינו בעבור אבותינו ואימותינו שבטחו בך, שבטחו בך, שבטחו בך. ותלמדים חוקי חיים, כן תכוננו ותלמדנו, המרחם רחם עלינו, רחם עלינו. ותן בליבנו להבין, להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע, ללמוד וללמד, לשמור ולעשות, ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה, והארננו בתורתך, ודבק לבנו במצוותיך, ואחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. לא נבוש, לא ניכלם, לא ניכשל, לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר במו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai. That wherever we are, it is eternally Egypt, and that there is a better place, a promised land. And that the winding way to that promise passes through the midbar, the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there, except simply by joining hands and marching together. Page 202.
This Micha Mocha is actually the special nusach, specifically for Shavuot. So you only hear this once a year. Micha kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef ele, shira chadasha shipchu geulim leshimcha, al sefat hayam, yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Sur Yisrael, please rise if you are able. Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, ubdechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go aleinu Adonai tzevaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav le'Hoshia, Morid ha'tal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melach, Melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua Remanat halehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakdeshimo tobishme marom kakatuv al yad neviecha vekara ze'el ze ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai tzevaot Meloch ol haaretz kevodo Adir, Adirenu Adonai, Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha bechol haaretz Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo Echad hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu Vehu Yashmienu Berachamav le'enei kol chai Ani Adonai Elohechem Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Zion Ledor vador Hallelujah. This is the festival Ledor vador. Ledor vador nagid godlecha ul netzach netzachim kedushat hakdish v'shivcha Eloheinu mipinu lo yam לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. אתה בחרתנו מכל העמים, אהבת אותנו, ורצית בנו, ורוממתנו מכל הלשונות, וקידשתנו במצוותיך, וקירבתנו מלכנו לעבודתך, ושמך הגדול והקדוש עלינו קראת, ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, מועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון. את יום חג השבועות הזה, זמן מתן תורתנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים.
We continue silently, either using words we might find in the pages to follow, or other words we might find in our hearts. We'll join back together again in just a few moments with the words of Sim Shalom on page 226.
Shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai. Yai lai lai yai lai lai lai. Sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom tova uveracha. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai yai lai lai lai. Sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom sim 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 shalom tova uveracha.
I don't know if we've had a theme this morning of talking about second grade and talking about, I think often about that book title, Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, is everything I ever needed to know I learned at Jewish summer camp. That's a Jewish summer camp moment. Well, we have in our service this morning set out an additional set of songs, literally psalms that were placed in our service so that we could add to the celebration this morning. So we are going to enter the Hallel section of our service. The whole reason is simply to have more of an opportunity to sing. So there will be a little bit of reading here and there, but mostly it's going to be songs, singing, more things that we draw from Jewish summer camp. Hallel's a little older than Jewish. Let's continue on page 296 as we enter our Hallel section as we sing in this beautiful day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et hahallel.
Page 297.
Hallelujah, 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 de Adonai. Hallelujah, 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 Shem Adonai. Hallelujah, 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 Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. Hallelujah, hallelujah, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah, 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 Mikimi me'afardal. Hallelujah, hallelujah, me'ashpot yarim nevyon. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We continue with the words on page 301. I'm sorry, 301? Is that our next?
Sure, we don't have to do that, but.
Okay, let's do that. We continue with a reflection and echoing of that great moment that is at the very center of our story. B'tzeit Yisrael miMitzrayim. We went out from the land of Egypt, knowing full well that that story of our people is one that repeats. God willing, we now are on our way out of a difficult and narrow time as we look back at 2 years of being in a pandemic. And so we mirror and know that we are in a long history of those who also have struggled in narrow places and also have come forward. Let's sing together on page 298.
B'tzeit Yisrael miMitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo ez. B'tzeit Yisrael miMitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo ez. Hayta Yehuda lekodsho, Yisrael mamshelotav, Hayam rashav ayanos, Hayarden yisov le'achor, Hecharim rakedu chelim, Gvaot kivnei tzon, Maleh hachayam, Kitanus, Hayarden, Tisov le'achor, Hecharim tidgdu, Chelim, Gevaot, Kivnei tzon, Milifnei Adon, חולי ארץ,
חולי הארץ,
מפלי לפני אלוה יעקב,
אלוה יעקב,
ההופכי הצור,
ההופכי הצור,
הגמיים,
הגמיים,
הלמיש,
הלמיש,
למיינו מים.
למיינו מים. I love the ones that we get to repeat. We get to kind of go back and forth. It is, Cantor, you are inviting us into this nusach and bringing us into not just words on a page, but words as a part of an oral tradition as well. Thank you for singing us into that.
You're welcome.
Well, let's continue. Yeah. Yeah. It's one that we sing. You know, I also sang as a kid where it was kind of back and forth and you know, the repeat after me songs, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's continue with Psalm 118. You can find on page 303.
Okay, Psalm 118. I have it. Oh, okay. Okay.
Psalm. Sorry, we are singing the section on 303. Sorry.
פיתחו לי שערי צדק, אבוא במאודיה. פיתחו לי שערי צדק, אבוא במאודיה.
Continue now with our concluding blessing for our Hallel.
כי לך טוב להודות ולשמך נאה לזמר, כי מעולם ועד עולם אתה אל. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מחולל בתשבחות.
Amen. We now continue with our Torah service. I'd like to invite us to rise in body or in spirit. If you would like to join us in following along in the Hebrew, you'll find the words on page 230 of our prayer book.
And our Torah reader today is Ron Artstein. He's going to be chanting Torah for us today, and just so you know, it's the Torah on the bottom right. Okay. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kama'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'menshaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam vad. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et hamo v'shalom. Av harachamim, heitiva bertzonecha et Zion, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, tivne chomot Yerushalayim. Adon Olamim. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah. Udevar Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael bikdushato. Adonai, Adonai. Sorry. Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, Notzer chesed la'alafim, Nosei avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakei. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti, unromem Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hachod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Adonai hamamlacha v'hamitnaseh lechol erosh.
Now, usually I would invite everyone to be seated, but we have a different Torah reading that we are hearing this morning. We are hearing the Ten Commandments this morning, and I'll let Ron, if you would like, talk a little bit about the tradition to stand or not stand for the Ten Commandments. Nevertheless, the understanding is that as we celebrate this holiday, which is the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai, we have a belief that every single member of our community was there when the Torah was given. Every member that ever was and every member that ever would be. And so I would like to invite each of us to come up, not only to take on this aliyah, but let's join together and be near one another as we hear these sacred words from on high.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you.
Cantor's going to happen up there. See around here. Understand? So we'll offer this blessing together. If you would like to offer the words, I invite you to do so. And if you simply want to let these words wash over you, I invite you to do so as well. And in here I have the blessing before the reading of our Torah. Ron, pardon me just for a second. For our aliyah to the Torah this morning, I am calling up our community. As each of us stood together at Sinai, so too do we stand together this morning.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen.
Am I picked up by this? Hopefully.
You know what?
It should.
Okay.
It's very sensitive. It should be good.
I'll watch myself. וירד אדוני על הר סיני אל ראש ההר, ויקרא אדוני למשה אל ראש ההר, ויעל משה, ויאמר אדוני אל משה, רד העד בעם, פן יהרסו אל אדוני לראות, ונפל ממנו רב, וגם הכהנים הניגשים אל אדוני יתקדשו, פן יפרוץ בהם אדוני. ויאמר משה אל אדוני, לא יוכל העם לעלות אל הר סיני, כי אתה העדות בנו לאמור, הגבל את ההר וקידשתו. ויאמר אליו אדוני לך רד, ועלית אתה ואהרון עמך, והכהנים והעם, אל יהרסו לעלות אל אדוני, פן יפרוץ בם. וירד משה אל העם, ויאמר עליהם, וידבר אלוהים את כל הדברים האלה לאמור, אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך, אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים, לא יהיה לך אלוהים אחרים על פניי, לא תעשה לך פסל וכל תמונה אשר בשמיים ממעל, ואשר בארץ מתחת, ואשר במים מתחת לארץ, לא תשתחווה להם, ולא תעובדם, כי אנוכי אדוני אלוהיך אלקנה, פוקד עוון אבות על בנים, על שילשים ועל ריבעים לשונאי, ועושה חסד לאלפים, לאוהבי ולשומרי מצוותי. לא תישא את שם אדוני אלוהיך לשווא, כי לא ינקה אדוני אשר יישא את שמו לשווא. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, 6 ימים תעבוד, ועשית כל מלאכתך, ויום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך. לא תעשה כל מלאכה, אתה ובנך וביתך, עבדך ואמתך ובהמתך, וגרך אשר בשעריך, כי 6 ימים אם עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו. כבד את אביך ואת אמך, למען יאריכון ימיך על האדמה אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך. לא תרצח, לא תנאף, לא תגנוב, לא תענה ברעך עד שקר, לא תחמוד בית רעך, לא תחמוד אשת רעך, ועבדו ואמתו ושורו וחמורו וכל אשר לרעך.
Yashar Koach. Well done, Ron. Yashar Koach.
Yes, yes.
I don't remember.
So yeah, is this the first time for some of us that we have seen, or first time in a while that we've seen the inside of a Torah? I think that it's something quite profound that we have not only the words, but we know that this is the way that we've made Torahs for many hundreds of years, and that each Torah carries a different history, but that each one carries the tradition of the way that it's made, generation to generation.
There's no periods, right?
No,
There's
there's
no
no
punctuation.
punctuation. No,
Yeah,
no
I knew
vowels.
that, but I didn't know about periods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people have said that the Vav was a method of punctuation throughout the Torah.
Oh.
And there are sections that you'll find in every Torah that are similar, and little breaks in the text as well. But by and large, I always think that at some point the table of contents and the index was like the new iPhone. That was like the great new technological invention. You ask
You
Ron.
have to remember. You have to find it.
You have to
Find it, yeah. So there's something called the Tikkun, and it has the whole Torah in it with vowels and trope and everything like that. So you just have to find it in the Tikkun. This is how I do it. I find it in the Tikkun, and then when I know someone's going to be chanting from the Torah, then I open the Torah, and I look for markers in my Tikkun. Like if I see, well, this is obvious, right? But like leading up, sometimes a bar bat mitzvah may have something, and it's just in the middle of a column like this, and they all look like this.
Yeah.
So I'll look for something like this, art so, and then I'll just kind of know where I am by reading through the Torah. I see, oh, there's a lot of Yaakov in here, so I kind of have an idea of where I am, and I find the stories I'm looking for, and then I'll look for markers like this, art so, or alehem, and then once I find those markers, and it matches the tikkun, then I can dive in and try to find the exact word.
To start with, you already have, it's kind of like a page.
Well, sometimes I have to find a Torah portion, like for Bahai Holidays, and I'm nowhere close to it. I have to start from just randomly try and go back
roll
over.
and
Yeah.
roll and try to find it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No page numbers, so you just have to start right.
And every single Torah is a little bit different. There'll be different lengths, different size of the letters, and so every single Torah they'll have the same breaks, but it might be up here, or it
Exactly.
might be over here, or it might be, so there's no
I don't
consistency.
remember from book to book.
You can't,
Yes.
yeah,
The books
Based
have
on
break.
books.
Not
So
a very
and
big
that's a
break,
good
but
way to.
just
Not
a
a
few
very big
lines.
break.
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you're really lost, and you know where you are, you can try to find one of those breaks, and then you know the first word of each book.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm in Shemot, and I need to be in number. You know what I mean? So then you know that
Luckily, they call them that.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
And is the tradition not to touch the words with your finger when of respect, or?
There's multiple different understandings of this, and one of the things I love about ritual is that often we don't know exactly how or when or why it began, but we have many explanations that have been written for generations. And so we do often say today that we use the yod to not smudge the letters, and it's absolutely true. It's a very ancient way of putting the ink together. But there's also a tradition and an understanding, and this is something that fascinates me. The Torah is a holy object, and we at different times in our lives are holy or not holy. And so there is, it's actually a little bit strange, but in the tradition, the idea is, were we to touch not the Eitzei Chaim, not the wood, but the parchment itself, we would become impure. Now it's counterintuitive, right? You would think that you would touch something holy and become pure, but in the tradition, the idea is that you would become impure, and so that's the other reason why we don't touch the parchment, because.
Is that like a do not learn for the other names who were building top?
Oh.
So there might be a parallel there,
We
although
always wonder about that, right?
there's the story of Nadav and Abihu who were consumed by fire, right? And in that story, it's not entirely clear that they were punished, although later on, when you get to the book of Numbers, actually in this Torah portion for this past week, that it says they were punished for doing this. But there's some understanding perhaps it was a strange fire, and perhaps that's why, or perhaps they approached at the wrong time, and it wasn't a holy moment. But you're absolutely right that they came up and they were consumed by fire, and so there could be a danger to holy things in the wrong context. I would love to. I thought, yeah.
I would say, as the person who is in charge of rolling the Torah and finding the Torah, where we're going to be each week, when I first started doing this years ago, it took me forever to find where we were, and the longer I've been doing it, the faster I can find it. It's like, yes. I'm like, yes.
Eventually, you remember the whole thing.
Yeah, well, so I think a lot about an imam has many different kind of credentials, but one of them is that they have memorized the Quran. And I always think to me it's fairly strange actually, because it would seem to make sense for a religion that was around at the time of the Second Temple or even earlier, when parchment and books were extremely rare. But for a religion that has grown up a little bit later, when books were still very rare, but they were not so rare that you couldn't have them in a community, they still insisted on that memorization. And I think that I think there's something to not just having the words on the page, but having the words in your mind and in your heart. And so I'm excited that these words are kind of they're in your mind as well.
Yeah, so, and when I do, yes, and I didn't for Ron, I was like, I hope he doesn't get lost, because I don't have anything to go by, but I was like, I'm not worried, but with a bar bat mitzvah, or if it was someone who wasn't fluent in Hebrew, I would have a sheet with the trope and the vowels, and I would be following along, so that if they got lost, I could help.
There's even a system, I mean, not in our synagogue, but in synagogues where they read the whole thing. They have a system of hand signs sometimes, because people just don't have the time to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody will be standing next to it, reading the trope and doing little hand signs to guide the reader.
It's like baseball.
Yeah, it's completely, yeah. And if you go to the wrong synagogue, they've changed them
They
so that you
changed the
can't
signs,
tell.
yeah. You gotta steal the signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for standing together.
That was Shavuot, that was Torah study. That was awesome.
Yeah, amen.
That was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you put the Torah back, you kind of keep it in its place, because next time you probably go with that.
Well,
Could be.
this,
We might end
we
up
do
using
with
it
the one that we use
for
every
other
week.
things.
This one we don't use as often, so next time we use this one, I'll probably have to find a portion that's nowhere near her.
So we do have, I guess there is one that you use every week, so you would kind of know.
Yeah.
We just read this part, it must be right here.
Sometimes
but-
we have no B'nai Mitzvah for a couple weeks, I've gotta go forward a while, but this one, the High Holy Day ones, it's anyone's bet. I have no idea where those are. This is for anything, so I use this, I take this one out for any other thing that we're doing, so that I don't mess up the one that we use every week. But next time I use it, I might be going someplace completely different.
I don't think the Torah is made specifically for, special holidays.
Yeah, I use the big Torahs on each side, I use for the High Holy Days.
You commissioned several years ago?
You know,
Where did that
I
come
have
from?
tried to learn the history, and this is a little bit embarrassing, but the Queen Mary Torah
Yeah, little
is very discernible. The other four, it's a little hard to tell one
One
from
of
the
them,
other.
I can't see from here, but
So-
one of them has some writing on top.
Yeah,
Is there something here?
No, not in
No.
this one.
No, not this
And
one.
I think it's the one that has the white.
Oh, Oh, okay, well, it says.
What does it say?
I can't read it from where I am.
Oh, yeah.
Dedicated to,
In the memory of.
Herman something, Leopold.
So I will tell you, just looking at the text itself, this is a newer scroll. Both in terms of the style and in terms of just the clarity.
The condition of the.
Exactly. Well, let's join together. Let's complete
still have
our
Yizkor.
reading today. Yeah. Let's offer our blessing after our reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Yesher koach everyone, and yesher koach Ram. Well, I invite us. Oh, sorry. I invite us to remain standing as we lift and return our Torah to the ark.
Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehila Yaakov, Morasha kehila Yaakov, Morasha kehila Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Eitz chaim hi l'machazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadish chadish yameinu chadish yameinu kekedem.
These muscles have gotten stronger. Yeah.
For sure.
You can return. You're welcome to stay up, or if you'd like to return to your seat. Yeah, these are, Jeannie. These are, you know, I'm working on those muscles. Yeah.
I was weightlifting this morning, I was feeling them like this, so I
Well, so we'll have to have you do Hagba more often. We know that there is a power not only in looking at our Torah scroll and feeling the history of the words there, but also feeling the history and presence of those who have come before us. And so this holiday, we take time and a moment to remember those who have died in the past year, knowing full well that both the mourning process is done with a bit more comfort in community with others, and that it is essential that we bring those memories and those people into our hearts even after they have died. So we begin our Yizkor service on page 312 of our prayer books with Adonai Ro'i, God is my shepherd.
Adonai Roi lo echsar din ode sheyar bitzeni al mei menuchot בגט המוות לא יראה כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך עמי ינחמוני תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי דשנת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים אדוני רואי לא אחסר אדוני רואי לא אחסר.
I invite us to join together. I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come?
My help comes from Adonai,
maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection. At your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now
and forever. אשא עיני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי, נעים אדוני עושה שמיים וארץ, אל ייתן לעמוד רגליך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך, על יד ימינך, יומם השמש לא יככה, וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם.
Take a moment now to use words that we might find in the pages to follow, or simply to let our voices quiet and our mind give rise to memories of those near to us. We'll join together in just a minute on page 318 for the words of El Malay Rachamim. I invite us to use the words on the pages to follow, or to let memories bring rise in our hearts. We continue with the words of El Malay Rachamim. I'd like to invite us to rise in body or in spirit.
Il Malay Rachamim shochein v'mromim Hamsi menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina Im kedoshim u'tehorim kezohar harakia masirim lenishmot yakirinu shehalchu leolamim Ba'al harachamim yustirim b'siter kenafav leolamim Veyitzror bitzror hachayim b'nishmatam Adonai hu nachalatam Ve'anuchu b'shalom al mishkavam Ve'nomar Amen.
Together, fully compassionate God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you
in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. Amen.
Together we now remember those who have died in our community in this past year. Seymour Alden, Frank Askin, Terry Atkin, Harvey Balakovsky, Jakob Bassner, Garth Begler, David Blumberg, Ellie Brooks, Georgia Brown, Violet Cairns, Jack Cameron, Jacob Castle, Kurt Charipper, Anna Chinsky, Evan Cohen, Bill Coleman, Bernie Eisenstein, Norma Fine, Laszlo Fodor, Evelyn Friedman, Leon Fuldheim, Betty Gandel, Jack Gordon, Charles Hale, Nancy Halbert, Clark Hamilton, Eileen Hammer, Susie Harbour, Mark Hardy, Dorothy Hartstein, Celie Hellman, Fritz Howe, Evelyn Hyman, Gertrude Jaffe, June Johnson, Ed Kofdal, Richard Callis, Marty Karasik, Carla Kelson, Doreen Kisner, Gerald Krabatsky, Susan Levy, Nancy Lindgren, Adele Meehan, Ralph Ralph Mindus, Gitella Mizrahi, Percy Morris, Madge Pizer, Hilario Ramos, Marcel Solomon, Kathleen Saltzman, Arthur Schneider, Debbie Siegel, Michael Sillerman, Waldo Silver, Sharon Sloan, Patty Sramek, Ramala Temkin, Theodore Watler, Rick Weber, Leonora Weber, Phyllis Wolf, Ruth Yavitz, and Chris Zamora. I invite us to join together with the words of Kaddish on page 334. Yitkadal, Yitkadash Shemiraba, Be'amad Yibrach Yute Be'amlich Malchute, V'chayechon V'yomechon Uv'chayed Chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Omel Maya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudusha B'richu, Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbachata V'nechamata, Damiram V'yoma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, Achaim Alinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom V'mramav, Tu Ya'aseh Shalom, Alinu V'yal Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Yisrael Todah, V'imru Amen. Zichronam Libracha, may the memories of those near to us always be a source of blessing. We conclude our service this morning with the words of Osei Shalom, calling in peace into this world.
Oseh shalom bimroma v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Teitel v'imeru v'imeru amen amen. Oseh shalom bimroma v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Teitel v'imeru v'imeru amen amen. Almost there. Hu ya'aseh shalom, hu ya'aseh shalom, hu ya'aseh shalom, hu ya'aseh shalom, oseh shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei Teitel v'imeru v'imeru amen 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 amen. Chag Sameach.
Sameach, everyone. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
That was a beautiful melody.
I love it. You did hear it
Oh.
at my recital.
Oh, I was sitting here going, I swear I've heard that before, but I don't think I've sung it. That's fine. No, it's
With
gorgeous.
my friends that were singing right there.
Right.
They sang
oh, that was the
they
opening.
sang they sang the harmony part that goes underneath it.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I love it. I want to teach the youth choir to do both parts so that people can hear the two parts together.
Yeah. Oh, that's too cool.
Yeah, isn't it great? I love this. I'd like this to be like our Oseh Shalom.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my friend who wrote it. Good friend
Oh,
of
that's
mine.
cool.
Yeah.
Abby
Abby Ghosteen.
Ghosteen. Oh, right. Yeah, you missed it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Are these inversions? Second inversion? Third?
I
What
think
is?
it's adding the two. So
Oh,
like,
add two.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which I can't do on the guitar. Whenever I play it on the piano, I add all those, but when I'm on or I don't do a third, but not on the guitar. I don't know how to do it.
Oh, no third. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. I was like, what does MO stand for?
No. Not.
Not.
I said, don't do it.
You're right. It's like a big thing with an X through it. Yeah. I want to mention if anybody would like to join us for Kiddush and Motzi as we take a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of sustenance for this day. And there is a small oneg outside as well, just to add to the sweetness of the day. Absolutely. So the holiday of Shavuot began as a harvest festival, specifically for wheat and for grains. And so yeah, eating has to be an important part of it.
Yes.
We have had so much going on. I'm trying to
Everything for the kids, specifically for
think of anything
Shavuot?
specific for Shavuot for the kids.
No, because
Um,
they already finished Torah Center.
A lot of the kids are out away and yeah, summer holidays, you know, the kids. Yeah, it's a very popular holiday in Israel. Yeah.
And confirmation.
And
Yeah,
confirmation.
that's, I know at Temple Menorah they did confirmation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen lechaim.
I'm
doing it because I know I like it better.
Yeah, you enjoy it, and I don't like it, so.
Oh, what is it?
It's Manischewitz.
Yeah.
So it's like such a waste for him to do it, so I'll just do it because I like it.
There you go.
In what?
Drink it too.
I probably would drink the juice. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little bit like, what are you? Are you juice? Are you wine?
That's why I like it because I don't drink. That's
You're
all.
right.
That's the only thing I drink is once a week.
So you don't know any different.
I don't know any different. When
So
I
I remember-
taste wine, I just.
So I remember in my introduction to Judaism class, and Rabbi Einstein standing up and telling us about the wine, and he goes, "It has a screw cap," he said.
That means it's a very good quality. Is it going to be cheesecake?
Let's find out. Wow! It's Colin.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz b'tei avon.
If anybody would like to join in, and we also have just outside.
Hag Sameach.
I'm going to take a little bit.
Yeah, go for it. There are some things missing in here I want to add before I forget.
Actually, Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the
Go ahead, go ahead.
Psalm 155, I think it was, with the acrostic, what happened to none?
Oh,
There's
you know,
no
yeah,
note.
it's not in there, right?
Yeah,
I'm
why
trying to
is
remember.
that?
There's
What's the
a whole
rabbinical
debate.
reason? Yeah, I'm sure there is.
It's a large debate, and there's some scholars who believe that it was, there are some prayer books from the Middle Ages that have the nun in it.
Oh, yeah?
And there's lots of different theories, right? One is that they noticed that something was missing, so they added it in the Middle Ages. Another theory, of course, is the other way around, that it left other prayer books but remained in that one. But the specific line, and I'm trying to remember what it was, but there's, it has something that could be misconstrued as exclusive to the Jewish community, meaning almost, it's not the right word to say derogatory, but discriminatory towards non-Jews. And in the Jewish community, they were concerned that the non-Jewish community would read it, think that the Jews were kind of plotting or something along those lines, so they took it out. But you know, as with most things along those lines, there's no surety.
I also
That would be a
heard
good question for Larry Hoffman, if you can.
I had also heard
his
that
ear.
it could stand for Nipol, to fall, and we don't want the Jewish people to fall, so we leave out the nun.
Oh, that's beautiful. I haven't heard that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, there are always so many reasons for things, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I love. Even when we have a clear reason, we add to it, we expand it, because we're a wondering people. Because we are less about history and more about memory, more about, well, what does it mean to have a certain thing remembered or in our past? Today we know the critical nature and the importance of fact as well. And so it's harder to say that in the Jewish context because we absolutely believe in science and fact and so on and so forth. But I think for our community, it's much more about how does it function, what does it mean to us, than what is the actual, thing that took place.
Thank you.
Ja,
Hug
tack så
some
mycket.
Bea.
See you just out there.
I'll be honest, I just want to make sure. We, okay.
It never goes on easy. You have to kind of put it on, and then every single time I lift it, it goes. Not you. Yeah, I'm never sure quite how much, but I would love for everyone to just kind of lead this together. That's okay. Especially the bigger one. It's hard to. Nothing to
Yes,
apologize.
no, that's fun.
It's 9 o'clock on the West Coast, but it's midnight, in Manhattan or
And I didn't even have the tikkun or anything, so I have no idea.